up the gain. You getting it now? Are you getting sound? Check, 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 check. Yes.
Oh, yes.
I hear that.
Okay. That's loud. I can't close the door.
Is it too loud?
Hello.
Check, 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 check. Yep, it looks like it's working. Okay.
Hey, man, what is your first name?
Clifford.
Yeah, I thought so. I was just looking for your email, for your message.
Do you want me to share it to if you go?
I have it.
You have it. Okay.
I just wanted to know your first name. I was going to try to just go to it.
You can call me Sam.
Clif, Sam, Joe, and
John.
John.
Joe's my brother's name.
Joe?
Yeah, and actually, you know, he may have introduced me to your music.
That's probably maybe.
He used to live here.
Joe, what's his last name?
A long time ago, Kaufman. I don't think you know him. He probably came to your shows a lot, but he was like appreciator, not a
not a groupie.
Not a groupie, not a musician.
Yeah, right.
Though he started playing trumpet. So, welcome to Clif Chats. This is a pop-up Clif Chats in New Orleans with legendary percussionist Baba Bill Summers. I first learned about Baba Bill. I don't know. I've known of you for a really long time. I definitely saw you play with Los Hombres Calientes. And
It's Calientes.
Calientes. Say again?
Los Hombres Calientes.
Calientes.
Yeah, well, I mean, Calientes. It's
like hot, like
it's
spicy.
No, it's an S on it.
Okay.
So I just want to correct you.
Yeah, thank you.
I couldn't wait to do that.
Hey, there's lots of things to correct me with too. So Baba Bill has worked. It goes on and on. The people you've worked with. I know that a lot of people know you from working with Herbie Hancock. And I was just looking at like the Sonny Rollins Quartet. I was looking at this concert at Carnegie Hall with Larry Coryell and
Return to Forever.
It was
and it was 3 or 4 groups.
Okay.
But it was the first time they had jazz at Carnegie Hall.
Oh, okay. So we're talking about a little while back, like not recently.
Probably in the early 70s.
Early 70s. Okay. So which group were you playing with?
The Headhunters.
It was with the Headhunters. Okay.
Herbie Hancock.
And with Mike Clark on drums.
Yes.
And so you were with the Headhunters before Mike Clark was with the group when it was Harvey Mason. Is that right?
Exactly.
Okay. So here's something that you've probably been asked this, and I had mentioned beforehand that I know we'll revisit some things you've talked about, but if there are new stories,
we can talk about
so when you all redid Watermelon Man, my assumption, I haven't read about it, is that you created the intro, the
Herbie didn't create it.
Yeah, I mean, it seems obvious to me that you created that.
Yeah, it was actually a composition in itself.
What was the inspiration of that?
The little people in the Ituri forest of Central Africa. I mean, I just liked their music, and they did this sound, and I learned how to do it. And then I created my own melodies and textures, layers.
You created a polyrhythmic melody or melodies.
Yeah, but it was just part stack,
Yeah. So you went in the studio. Was that the first thing that was recorded, or was it done after you had recorded how did you all do that?
Let me see if I can even remember that. I think I introduced Herbie to the Babenzele.
Wait, what is that?
There's some people that do that.
Okay, from that region that you were talking about.
Yes, exactly. Okay. And that was the first thing. And then I did it for him, and he said, "Wow, that's interesting." And I had already had the parts. It was a composition in itself. And he said, "Man, I would work with the intro of the tune," and it wound up being pretty much what people gravitated towards. Was that particular.
It's beautiful how it goes from that and kind of morphs into the other instruments coming in. The bass line,
and then the bass line comes in,
Was that a bass line? Was that a bass line that you composed, or was it?
No, Paul Jackson.
That was Paul Jackson. Uh-huh.
Yeah, everybody did their own thing.
Yeah.
Bobby did his own. I didn't even get any arranging credit. I didn't get any credit at all.
Oh, okay.
It's like I'm the percussionist.
Why are drum beats not?
It's not even drum beats.
But I'm just saying. I'm not saying that's a drum beat. I'm just saying why are those? Because I know that like in whatever
copyright law.
Yeah, a drum beat is not copyrightable, but a melody.
Yeah, but
lyric.
They just they just happen to deem it unimportant. And that's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, the hook is not unimportant. I mean, I'm not saying it's a hook necessarily, but
if I in my groups, and I've always been this way. If say I was composing a tune, and the guy is playing drums on, he comes up with the drum beat, and the bass player comes up with the bass line, I'm going to give them some of the. I'm going to acknowledge that as a part of the creation. I'm not going to be stupid and try to eliminate a person because I'm after the money. I try to be fair. I know of a situation my brother told me about today that he met a musician who said I owed him money. So the way I work usually, because I've seen the pain from not being acknowledged. So I don't want to do that to anybody. So what I do and I have for the last 40, 50 years, if I have a group of people, I encourage each musician to have their own publishing company. Okay, I was just about to ask you. Therefore, their money doesn't even go through my publishing company. So they're responsible for keeping up with that. They can't look to me and say, I didn't get my money, but people do that to me because they haven't taken care of their business. They just think, well, I wrote this song with Bill Summers, I haven't got my money. No, you haven't done your homework. And because I have your name there as a writer, I can prove that. And that's just my MO. Was to help other people, not hurt them. Well, and that's what I was going to ask you, and it sounds like you sort of answered that, or you did answer that like what you'd recommend to a musician who doesn't want to have a situation happen where they are a co-writer and they don't get credit. Is that you're saying having a published? On top of it, you have to go. Yeah, I guess the best thing to do is make it understood from the beginning with the person you're working with that you expect if you're a contributor to the body of work, that you should be compensated. That's what it is. It's like I had to learn that. And it gets tricky when you're friends with somebody, you're working with somebody. Well, that's a hard lesson learned, right? Yeah, well, friendship is fleeting. Yeah. What's a friend? Yeah. A friend is a person that tells you have a book on your nose, or your pants, or your shirt is not tied, it's not buttoned correctly. That's a friend. Yeah. That's a really friend. Your breath doesn't smell good, dude. That's a friend. Yeah, they're telling you the truth. You have to, they'll tell you the truth. They'll sacrifice their friendship to help you. That's a friend. That's my definition of a friend. I agree with that. Hey man, you got something on your lip right there. That's a friend. Now, enemy, he ain't gonna tell you. Yeah. Unless you just walk around with shit hanging out your nose or whatever, laughing at you behind your back. Yeah. And shit like that. Absolutely. So how did you get into studying that? How did you, were those the first, like people from Africa that you had started to get to know, or where was your entrance into music from various cultures? Well, I started when I was 5, and I spent 10 years in the conservatory playing classical piano. A lot of people don't know that. Well, what conservatory or where were you? Detroit Conservatory, Detroit, and the Michigan Conservatory. So you're doing the whole reading thing. I'm doing Chopin, Bach, Beethoven, Wagner, Czerny, whatever. No percussion at that point. Well, I like playing percussion. I was beating on shit. I was beating on. Were you playing drum sets? I was dabbling with everything. Professionally, before I was a percussionist, I was a saxophonist. Oh, okay. I played professionally. Okay. Until my horns were stolen at the Apollo Theater. I was working at the Apollo. Okay. And my horns got stolen, and I was playing percussion with Bobby Womack. Oh, okay. At the Apollo. And I was playing horns with another group called New Birth.
So you're doing two things.
Yeah, I did. That's what I did.
Uh-huh.
And when I put the two together, I really got work because then they got 2 in 1.
Yeah.
They got a person who could play
On the same gig, you might play saxophone, then you might
play and some timbales and bongo, congas, and I became more proficient.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they saw my horns, that God was saying, forget that other shit. Here's what you need to do.
Here's your focus.
Yeah.
What was there a point where you like knew or realized or didn't realize what about culturally specific rhythms, like that they're like the specificity of am I saying
Don't try
right?
to say words you can't pronounce.
Okay, so like
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm a student of West African music, and that's
very
most
broad.
It's very broad. My main teachers have been Malinke, but I remember before I ever heard any music from Africa, like I remember hearing some drumming on a show like Gilligan's Island, and they made it sound like that was maybe.
It was some bullshit.
It was some bullshit. It wasn't the real thing, and it didn't. I didn't feel it at all. It wasn't.
And back then on movies, you have to realize that black musicians were systematically excluded from the business part of music, and also from movies, unless they were dressed up in some ridiculous outfit and going ooga ooga. Okay, that was, the Negroes over here, the white folks over here. The Native Americans over here. Oh no Native Americans, but some white boys dress up like Native Americans. It was always like that. It still is. So to some degree, it's gotten a little better, but African music wasn't represented properly. Until recently, in movies. Like Black Panther. And then you started to get some real or Color Purple stuff. I did on Color Purple. It's really, I think I'm one of the pioneers of getting the right things
Absolutely
out there.
I mean, I'm sure of that, and that's what I want to get deeper into that. Like how, like when did you realize like there's this world that you didn't necessarily know of before? I mean, worlds really.
Well, I wouldn't say I didn't know about it. I was studying Chopin. So I was listening to other stuff too. Perez Prado. One thing was Lucy and Desi. I love Lucy. They had
some real conga playing on there.
They had some shit going on that people didn't know. But it was some black people playing, but they wouldn't put them on the screen.
Okay.
They were playing in there. And it was going like. You heard it. But in the background, some brothers was kicking ass. But Ricky didn't have him on screen. You never saw Ricky with some black people. He's coming from Cuba talking about Babalu. What does that mean? You ever heard that? Babalu? You never heard that?
I mean, Babalu sounds familiar, but I don't know.
No, okay. Well, on I Love Lucy, Ricky would.
He would say that.
He would say that.
Yeah. Okay. That's yeah. It's been a long time.
Yeah. Okay. He would say that, and I was wondering, and to myself, I said, well, that doesn't sound like Spanish. What is that? What is that? And I found out.
What is Babalu?
It's father of the world, owner.
And Baba, like
Baba, father.
Yeah.
Olu, owner or chief.
Okay.
And there's another part, Babalu Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, father, chief, owner of the world.
Okay.
Now, why was he using that? He had these drums he would play. He couldn't play. He couldn't play. He could not play. He was like on the fringes of it. He was like someone who wanted to emulate that, but he didn't. I couldn't see any training in it.
It's like someone who just picks up the guitar and maybe just plays a few chords or something.
But I think it was easier for him to get away with it because the people people he played for didn't know anything about it either.
Yeah.
So he could just he could fake it, you know. But Babalu Aye is a very important Orisha. And then I was wondering, then I had to ask myself, why would he want to mess with Babalu? But let me tell you about Babalu Aye. Babalu Aye is the patron saint, or the representative of infectious diseases.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? Why would you even go there and mess with that?
With this popular show.
Yeah.
Or just in general.
Yeah, if they just in general,
Yeah.
just you know, if you're in it, you know about it. Let me give you an example. I play ceremonies, and I have for 50 years.
50?
At least.
Wow.
Okay. And they had, even longer than that, much longer, maybe 10 years longer, 60 years.
Okay.
And in the ceremony, we play a medley of rhythms. It's called the Oro Igbodu.
Okay.
Some people call it the Oro Seco.
Okay.
Where seco is Spanish for dry.
Okay.
Meaning there's no singing. That's why, and it's just drums. Okay. So they call it the Oro Seco, but that's in Spanish.
And are the instruments bata or what?
Bata, yeah. The instruments are bata, but you play when you play in a ceremony. It depends on what kind. But if you're using anya drums, which are consecrated, they have a purpose. Someone being initiated, a priest or a priestess, has to be presented to the drums. They have to actually make a money offering, what they call an HAD, and they have to actually dance in front of the drums. They have to mofori ballet instruments. They have to get on the ground. They have 2 candles and 2 coconuts on a plate. They have to. Their ayubona, their godmother, godfather comes and positions their head in the right position. Then they have to get up and they have to go kurete kunanya. They have to kiss each drum. And they usually do this when they're becoming a priest or priestess and being initiated to that level. Then they have to actually they lose their name. They're called Yawo. Any person that goes through that, they lose their name. They're not called by their name again for a year.
Okay.
They have to wear white for a year. They have to stay inside. They can't be outside at night. You know, they can't look in the mirror for a year.
Wow.
They can't be touched for a year. It's pretty heavy stuff.
That's really heavy stuff.
Oh yes, and there's a lot.
You have to have real commitment to do that.
Yeah, no, that's not for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, so there are people who are involved in this who are out on the periphery. They call them Malayos. They have Iworos, people that are actually initiated. You know, they have different levels, but everybody's invited to the party. You know, it's not something where, you know, there are people around sticking pins and dials and bullshit like the horror movies have black people portrayed. You know, so people are, you know, when you bring these things up, they're afraid usually because people here are Christians and they don't understand.
They feel threatened, maybe.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know. Yeah. Whatever that is. Okay. In Cuba, they used to have to hide the African saints with the Catholic saints.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? If the authorities came in someone's house, they'd have an altar just like mine, but it would have Saint Thomas, Saint Martin, or the Virgin Mary, or Jesus, and you know it all would be camouflaged. It was to camouflage what they were doing, so they didn't get in trouble for practicing their native, their original spiritual practices. So there's all kinds of bullshit that's going on. You know, it's deep. It's very, you know. And I just happen to be a Black American who got involved in it, and very few.
In Detroit, you started getting involved in it, or were you?
Yeah, I was involved in it in Detroit. Yeah, I was studying. I made bata. I made in California.
Back then, you did.
Yeah, in California. I made the first ever bata scene.
Okay.
Period.
When was that? When were you in California?
I started school in California in 1967, 68.
Okay. Which school was it?
I went to a place called Merritt College.
Okay.
And Merritt College is where most of the Panthers came from. It was a recruiting ground for the Black Panthers. This school had the first Black Studies program.
And this is when you were there when this was happening. You were there were Black Panther recruiting happening. That was happening when you were there.
Yeah. I went to. I saw Bobby C almost every day. If you know, I don't know if you know.
I don't.
He's one of the leaders of the Black Panther Party.
Okay.
And I knew Eldridge Cleaver, who was another leader. Kathleen Cleaver. I lived down the street from Huey Newton, who was the leader. And I was very much into the movement. My parents were civil rights activists. My grandparents who were from here. My mother and father are from here.
Oh, they're from here. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Everybody in my family is from here.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you also is, well, if kind of, so where are the places you lived and then what, from where to where? From Detroit to California? Is that?
I went from Detroit. I'm just trying to think of it. But I see the way I deal with the planet is this is my house. And Soweto is just a room in it. So Detroit is a room. So I got to think about it.
Okay.
And that's how I think about it.
Well, how long have you been back in New Orleans?
30-some years.
Okay. And did it feel like coming home?
But I did live in New York, and I lived in France. I lived in Germany. I'm around the planet.
Well, that's what I figured.
And Africa. This is a house. When was
your first trip to Africa?
I don't know.
And where in Africa?
Probably in West Africa. And then I went to South Africa.
Which countries or country?
I went to Nigeria, and I went to South Africa, and there's some other places. I've been on every continent many times. So I don't. Sometime I have my memoirs that just were completed and are being published, and one of the people editing the books was saying, well, maybe you want to put all this in chronological order. And then someone else said, why? It's just memoirs. You can jump through you can go to the middle of the book and open it up and read a chapter about Bill Summers and drugs, or Bill Summers and his parents. You see what I'm saying? So everything is like, I can date it. I can date. I went to California in '68, I think it was, but I didn't stay long in the beginning. Let me give some chronology.
Okay.
5 years old, I started playing classical piano, which I hated.
Yeah.
But my mom and dad made me do it. My brother also did it, and for 10 years, that's a long time.
Yeah.
But it was good for me musically.
Yeah.
And as I went on that path, it's funny. Watermelon Man was very important to me before I got with Herbie.
Oh, okay.
It's really funny because when I was in high school in 11th grade, I went to a place called Northern High School, and they had a stage band, and I went to an assembly. And they played Watermelon Man, but from Mongol Santa Maria's version. Which was before that one I did. But that's really when I locked into percussion.
Okay.
I mean, it was playing. I went and bought some bongo and some claves.
So you were inspired by that performance?
Yeah, I was inspired
of
by
Watermelon Man, but the
that
mom
song. But here I'm hearing those conga drums, or the tumadores they call them. And I'm hearing this, and I'm hearing then Mongo had another guy that would play with him named Ulito Collazo, and he played Checare.
Do you mind lifting it up? This is one you've built.
Yeah, this one I made these.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, something like this. It cost over $1,000.
I believe it. Yeah,
I'm not
gorgeous.
But anyway, it's huge. The reason being is so big.
There's this one here too.
Yeah, that's like a, this is Mama, and that's Daddy, and there's the little one. I got other ones that are so different. They're different ones, but
there's ones hanging over here.
Yeah, I make these for a company called Playing for Change.
Oh, okay.
Are you familiar with them?
Yeah, and I think I've seen some things that you've posted on about that too.
Yeah, I'll make some, but I make a lot. I mean, I've been making these. I mean, this instrument, I would have to say, I helped popularize it for sure.
Yeah,
because people didn't know how to play it.
yeah.
And I learned from that guy Ulito Koyasu, who could play the shit out.
From listening to him or firsthand?
From looking at him.
From watching him. So you went
ceremonies.
Okay. So was he in Detroit, or how did
he
you?
was in New York.
See, when you were in New York.
Yeah.
So you said 10 years of piano. So you're.
So then I started playing. I begged my father for a flute because I really love flute. And he said, well, we can't afford it, blah, 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 blah. So my father he was a jack of all trades. He made all, the car was fixed. He fixed the refrigerators. He recharged the roofs. We went from coal to oil to gas. We did it, so it was all hands on all the time. So my father said he couldn't buy the flute. So one day he came home. I had made a fucking flute.
Wow.
I had gone in the machine shop, got me a piece of pipe, drilled the holes in it, the holes for the mouth, put a cork in the end. He came home, he said, boy, let's go to the store and get you a flute. He got a flute. Then it was from there to alto flute, then piccolo. Then I wanted the tenor sax. It just kept going on and on and on. And then I wanted timbales. And I started looking at it, so I can make this. I can do this. I can make this.
Who were your favorite saxophone players back then?
Sonny Rollins, that was one of them.
I saw you reading his biography, or you did.
I'm in it.
Yeah,
I'm all over. I'm in it a lot. And I work with him, so I'm in the book. Someone sent it. The writer sent it to me a few weeks ago.
That was before you played with Herbie Hancock, or is that after?
It might have been. I'm not sure.
Not sure. Okay.
I have to look at the dates.
So you went to school in college in California.
Now, here's one major thing. I didn't graduate from high school.
Okay.
So when I went to California, I had to quit high school. And I had several jobs. One of them was at Ford Motor Company on the assembly line.
Yeah.
So I worked that job after I quit school. Was when I came home. Let me tell you how special my parents were. When I came home and told my father I quit, he was reading the paper. You know what he said? I guess you're getting a job. And he didn't have any, and he wasn't, well, he probably was upset because he always had this notion that his sons were I was going to be a doctor or something. I had a lot of animals or a veterinarian or something. And so when I went to California, my Uncle Boo, who I stayed with, I was just going for a couple of weeks. But check this out. I quit the job at Ford Motor Company because there was an opening at the racetrack for busboy.
Busboy.
Yeah, busboy. Most of the busboys were black.
Okay.
The menial labor jobs. And so I went to work at the racetrack, and they had a guy in that was in the bathroom. He was an independent contractor. He wasn't employed by the racetrack. He shined shoes. I had no idea this guy was a millionaire. I didn't know it.
The guy shining shoes.
He was filthy rich. Why?
Yeah.
Because employees could not bet. So he would take the bets. He was like a bookie. He would take the bets, write down their name, and if they won, he took a small percentage and gave the person who gave him the person would keep the ticket. Yeah. I would get the ticket. If I won, I could bring it to him. He'd cash it out. And then he'd get a little piece and give me the rest. Yeah. So they had a race called a Daily Double. You know what it is? Okay, you have to win 2 races. Okay. Your horse has got to come in number 1 in race 4 and race 8. I'll give you an example. So you win race 4, and you're looking at this ticket that you may pay $2 or $5 for, and you're saying to yourself, if I get the next race, if I win that, I'm gonna win a hell of a lot of money. So people were asking me, "Can I buy your ticket?" I said, "No, I think I'll keep it." Well, it was coming along the far turn around the rail. My girl is in the back of the pack. My girl moving up along the rail. My girl by nose. I threw all the dishes up in the air. I flipped off everybody.
I'm out of here. I won.
I'm out of here. I was out there. That's
You said significant amount of money.
And I got on a plane.
You're 17, 18?
Yeah. I had just quit high school.
Yeah.
About maybe 7 or 8 months after I quit, I was working there, and I wanted to do the job. I got on a plane to go to San Francisco. I got off the plane. Everything looked like Disneyland to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had never seen hills and the ocean like that. I'd never seen that.
Mm-hmm.
So
you're in San Francisco in the 60s.
This was late 60s, and then I stayed with my uncle, and he told me, he said, Billy, if you were a resident in California, you could go to a junior college free. Free. So I said, well, I don't have a diploma. Mm-hmm. He said, well, I'm gonna take you over here to Merritt College, and he did. And I went over there, and I took a test and I passed it, and they let me enroll as a college.
Okay.
So in the junior college, and then I applied for UC Berkeley. Impossible. I knew it was impossible for me to get in there, but I applied anyway. Guess what? I got accepted.
Okay.
So next thing I knew, here I am in one of the most prestigious universities on the planet. And things started opening up more. I had an independent major in African music.
Okay.
But I had to get that.
Was that the first? Were you the first to do that there? So you created the major, basically.
Yes. I had to have there was a guy that they hired, a black professor, but that was after much aggravation from me. Because they didn't have anything like that in the music department. And I had already, dude, I had already done the classical shit. I had to take here I'm a freshman, and they said, well, you got to take piano classes.
They're like,
or you got to pass this piano test. I ate the piano test up. So I was unusual. You know what I'm saying? I'm not the average.
So it made it clear for them that it made sense that you could then pursue this other.
Well, this guy came and they hired a guy named Ali Wilson, who was his thing was electronic music, but he was a black professor, and he was in tune, and he was good. And he was very, very good at what he did.
When you say in tune, what do you mean by in tune?
Well, he was academically on a high level.
Okay.
He didn't have to take shit from the people who wanted to dish the shit out. Believe me, there was a lot of shit dishing. Okay, a lot. It was quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I was refused. I applied for this independent major more than 3 or 4 times. It took 2 years to get the Department of Letters and Science, the dean. I went to one dean and said, look, I've applied for this several times, and I don't understand why it keeps getting turned down. Why am I? So this person told me, well,
I think it answered.
Put your work together. Put your work together, and send it. Send your work to me, and I'll review it to make sure it's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now the person that denied me was her. The person that told me, they helped me.
Oh, so they weren't really telling the truth.
Yeah, they weren't telling the truth. But I eventually, my advisor, Ali Wilson, said, let's keep going, keep taking the courses. And we had to construct that ourselves. What the course, but I still had to take all the breadth requirements. I had to take all the other courses anyone else took. But my major was one they didn't offer.
Yeah. So and this is late 60s in San Francisco Bay Area.
This was in 70.
Okay, 70. So there's a lot happening musically during that time. So were you also out in it, or were you?
I was playing with bands. That's about that time. And actually in 1968, 69, I had gone back to Detroit and was a co-founder of the Malcolm X Cultural Center. So I ran that for a while.
Okay.
And then the guy that co-founded it with me, he took over, and I went back to school.
Okay.
But they started shooting at me and all kinds of shit. I was like, well, My brother went to prison
for
years about. He was involved in it too.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so there was a lot that was happening at the same time. You know? But in 1971 or 2, Herbie Hancock came to do a concert at Zellerbach Hall in at UC Berkeley.
Okay.
And my group opened for him.
Ah, okay.
That's when I met him.
And your group was what was your group? What instrument was your group? Like what?
It was a group called Bacha Koto. So we did music from Haiti, Brazil, Cuba. We did a lot of from the diaspora.
So you were doing a lot of what you had been studying.
I had a house, and people would want to come into it to photograph it because I had drums hanging on the outside of the house. I made drums a lot. Yeah. A lot of drums. Some of them were from 50-gallon oil drums, like they did, like with the La Belle Africaine. You know, I don't do Guinea.
I took some class. So when I was in Guinea, Kumbana Konde. He would pick me up in the morning on his motorbike. I'd ride in the back and we go to his compound, and his Dunumba is a big oil can.
Yeah, we did. I knew how. I made them. And
cool.
when they would come to travel in the United States, and I would make friends with many of the musicians from like Mali and from Senegal, from Guinea, Togo, Ghana. I studied airway music.
Okay.
You know, Chimavu.
Yeah.
Kagong.
Go.
So,
I done a little bit of that.
They got a lot of rhythms.
Yeah.
You know, and
I did a little bit of Gahu.
So I learned that. So I was pretty well versed. I studied Brazilian music. I studied Haitian music. I studied Cuban music. So I knew shit.
So you were learning like all this music in this as part of your college degree. Is that right? Or is this kind of separate?
Learning the music was more important than passing the tests. You understand? This is what my motivation was.
And so you were finding the people from those areas to learn from.
To study with. Yeah.
And there were some that maybe lived in the Bay Area then, or
well, I had a roommate. He was with the National Ballet for Senegal.
Oh, okay.
He was my roommate. His name was Zach Diouf.
Okay.
And Diouf, I should say. And he
was he playing Sabah, or what was he playing?
He played djembe, and he danced, and he was a singer.
Okay.
And he was very good. He was exceptional.
And so he was teaching you all the stuff.
Yeah. Plus, he was a chemist.
Okay.
He actually died recently, but he was a world-renowned chemist.
Wow.
Yeah, he was pretty deep. So he was doing jungle shit and chemistry. You know, he was pretty good, and we remained good friends until he died. But you know, I've always had. My thing is go to the masters.
Absolutely.
If you get that off, I'm not climbing a ladder. I'm gonna get a running start and jump up on the ladder. I'm not starting.
Go straight to the source.
go to the source. Yeah. And that's what So
you knew that early on, and you knew that was what you needed to do.
I was motivated. I follow instructions. I just follow. There's a little voice in my ear saying, "Do this." There. And I'd follow it.
Did you ever feel like you needed to focus on one specific thing?
Yeah, I did.
Which was what? Bata. So Bata is like what you kind of.
That's the main thing, but you can't learn it all.
Yeah.
You can't learn candomblé, lukumi, bata, djembe, sabah, and this, and you can't consume all that.
Yep.
It's
just too many lifetimes.
It's too many you have to. Well, what's for me? Well, the Doors. I was playing ceremonies. I was
in college. You were doing that.
Pardon me?
In college.
Before college.
Before. That's right. Before. Okay.
I mean, I was just playing. I knew more about that than I did about anything else.
Yeah.
So I said, well, this seems to be. When my horns got stolen, they didn't steal none of that. The shit was there.
Okay.
They just said the bata was there.
They didn't see the value in that.
They didn't touch it. They didn't even look at it. And so they missed the boat because that was more important than the other stuff that I lost.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, to make a long story short, it's just been, I just follow what the voice is.
Uh-huh.
And I know the voice is right. And I know the voice is what some people call God.
Uh-huh.
I'm a good friend of God's.
Uh-huh.
We're tight.
Uh-huh.
You see what I'm saying? So I just have a connection with the planet, the universe.
Uh-huh.
I just have a connection.
Uh-huh.
You know, some people used to tell me, say, Bill, if you stuck your hand in the ground, trees would grow.
Uh-huh.
You know, that's just how I am.
Well, it sounds like you've been open to it too.
Yeah, I'm very open.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm pretty open.
Uh-huh. So your group opened up for Herbie Hancock,
and then
and
then he asked me to come and sit in with him.
that during that show.
Same day.
Okay.
He said, man, how would you like to come and sit in?
Uh-huh.
And that was a disaster.
Really?
Yeah, well, here's what happened. I went over there and I think I had 2 congas and a duffel bag with some percussion in it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came to the club where he told me to come, I wasn't so presumptuous as to put the shit on the stage.
Yeah.
I just put it off to the side.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really excited because I was 20 or 19.
And it sounds like you'd been a fan. You love his music.
This was Herbie Hancock.
Yeah.
That's like, well, come on. I mean, this is the baddest jazz pianist on the planet.
Yeah.
And so he said, okay, I'm gonna come sit in. Okay, so I bring my stuff. I put it to the side. I'm waiting for him to come there. I don't know. Maybe I'll sit in on a song. I don't know. I really don't know. I was already an accomplished musician. Right? So when he came in, and this is maybe an hour before the show was to start. He walked by. He didn't see me. He walked by, but he glanced at. He glanced at the stage and where my percussion, my stuff was. They wasn't on stage. And he says, "What's all this shit?"
That's what he said.
That's what he said. And he walked to the restroom and I left.
Uh-huh.
I didn't play.
Oh.
Because I left. He never saw me.
Oh, okay. You heard him say that?
Yes, I said, fuck that.
Yeah.
So I went and picked my shit up and I went home.
Mm-hmm.
And my friends were coming to see me play and they said, what happened? I said, I left.
Uh-huh.
So 6 months later, Herbie came to do a lecture. Guess where? The music department.
Uh-huh.
Guess for who? For Ollie Wilson.
Oh, okay.
My advisor and a major, and I was his TA.
Oh, okay.
And there you have to be a graduate student to be a TA. Mm-hmm. But I was the only undergraduate student to be a teacher, a TA ever.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So now here I am. I picked Herbie up and we talked. And
he knew you at that point. Like, he knew who you were.
He thought he said, have we met? And I said, I didn't really want to talk about it.
Uh-huh.
But we did. Eventually, to make a long story short, we did talk about it. And he said, I did that? I did that? I did that?
He was surprised.
I did that. He kept saying it over and I did that.
Uh-huh.
And eventually he said, well, would you come and sit in tonight?
Uh-huh.
And that's when things happened.
Okay.
I went and sat in with him. I sat in with him. I can't even count the times that he invited me to come and hang out with the band and sit in. And I guess I was being auditioned. But
and this would be when he came to town, or would you also go to other towns where he was?
Well, I mean, in the beginning, it was just he come to town, and then he one day first time I got paid.
Uh-huh.
I knew something good was happening because he said, well, look, I want you to come and do a gig with me in Santa Monica.
Oh, okay.
Now, I had been playing with, sitting in with this other band with Buster Williams and and Julian Priester and Eddie Henderson and Benny Maupin.
Uh-huh.
They were all in that group.
So you're connected with all the people he was playing with in his group.
I knew all of them. I knew most of them. Some of them lived in the Bay Area.
And you were close with some of them, or?
I mean, I wouldn't say like they weren't my running partners, but I was, before I got with Herbie, I had already been doing recordings with people like Stanley Turrentine.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Herbie wasn't.
While you're still in college, you had done some of that work.
I started to do work like that.
Okay.
But anyway, Herbie over a year period, we became friends, and he would come and visit me at my house. I didn't know what he wanted. I really didn't know. I didn't know what he was doing. But I think when I look back, I was being auditioned. You understand?
Yeah.
He was sizing me up.
You as a person, not
and
just
as a musician.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sure he had never met nobody like me. I'm pretty sure of that. But anyway, then he had invited me to come to Santa Monica. I went to Santa Monica, and I got to the auditorium, and I went and I had they picked my instruments and put them on a plane and brought them to the gig. I got there. There was two things on stage: a grand piano and a harp. That was it. So I said, "Well, Herbie, where's the band?" He said, "It's just me, you, and Alice Coltrane."
Wow, that's heavy.
No, well, yeah, it was heavy, and I did that gig, and then some time passed.
Is there a recording of that?
I haven't the faintest idea.
And then I'd like to hear that.
Herbie said, "Well, his manager," I talked to him. He said, Herbie wants you to come to the house in Hollywood." And so I went over there, and I met Harvey Mason. Paul Jackson was there. Me and Paul Jackson lived in the Bay Area. Yeah. And he and I played in a band together. He played trombone, and I played sax.
Really? Oh, wow! I didn't know you played trombone.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't.
And had you met Mike Clark at that point? Did you play with him at all in the Bay Area?
No, not until he was with her.
Okay.
But Paul Jackson, I knew who Mike Clark was. Paul Jackson brought Michael Clark because Michael and Paul were roommates.
That's right.
And they were best of friends. They were like twins. And so anyway, I went there, and Harvey was there, Benny Maupin was there, I was there, and Herbie was there. I think it was 5 people. And we just played, we just jammed, and that was it.
No songs.
That was
just jam.
That was it. That was the beginning of the Headhunters.
So you could just feel there was a
magic.
Yeah, that just happened.
Come on, man. Harvey was a monstrous player.
Yeah.
And Paul Jackson was a monstrous player. Benny was a monstrous player. And Herbie,
everybody there was a monstrous player.
Except for me.
You didn't feel like a monstrous player at that point.
I don't still feel that way now. I'm not doing that. But anyway, I'm saying I fit in. Obviously.
Yeah, you knew how to.
Whatever, I fit in.
Yeah.
And getting a job as a percussionist wasn't a very easy thing to do because there weren't many people who would hire.
They weren't looking for percussionists, right?
Yeah, well, the thing is, you were expendable. Yeah. You're the last one hired, and the first one fired. Yeah. If they're gonna get rid of somebody, it's gonna be me. But then, as time went on, like for instance, I didn't go out on the first tour with the Headhunters. Oh, okay. Herbie, they said I was expendable. We don't need him. They could save money by not taking his ass, so they did. But when it came to play Watermelon Man, people wanted that shit is missing, and it was what they wanted to hear. So you at some point had gone to the studio with them. Of course. Like before you toured with them. I recorded the whole goddamn record with them. Before you were toured with them, you did that. Before he went out on tour with the Headhunters record, which is one of these. Right there? Up there, yeah. Yeah. There's a platinum one right there. It went platinum. It was probably in triple platinum. I believe it. Yeah, that was the record I'm on the cover. But they didn't take me on the road because I was a percussionist. But then when they went out on the road, I had played so much shit on there that people wanted to hear that. People was, well, something's missing. A lot was missing, and then so after that I went on the road with it. And after that, it was, he knew that I was a legitimate musician. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. But I still got fucked. When it came to some writing. Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, this is an album that has it's stood the test of time, and it's still good. It's still great. Yeah, it's still great. Yeah, I listen to it, and I love it. A lot of people do. Yeah. It's historic. They have classes on it. If you didn't know. No, I didn't know that, but that doesn't surprise me. Yeah, there are classes. You can take a class on that record. It's so pivotal and so important in the scheme of things. Well, and you were doing something that I don't know of that had been done, where you're bringing some sounds and some some other aspects.
Yeah, that I don't think I had ever
Nobody
recorded at that point.
Yeah. It had been recorded pure, like the people in the forest, folkways or something.
What are you blowing on like a bottles? What is the dude?
Well, let me tell you what happened. There's an instrument called Hindu. It's onomatopoeia. Spelled HINDEWHU, something like that.
Okay.
Something like Hindu. Hindu.
And you said tonally like that.
It imitates the name of the instrument. It imitates
the sound.
Yeah,
it makes. Yeah.
It's onomatopoeia.
Yeah.
So, I think we were talking. I forgot your question.
Oh, just how what was making that sound? So you're playing that instrument.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Where's my percussion? I had a percussion bag. It's probably right there. Okay, so I had, and I thought I saw that in here earlier.
Do you mind checking to see if it's still going, just to make sure it's you have been checking? Okay. And sound still working too?
I saw that in here. I could have sworn. Okay, I don't think anything came out.
The instrument.
Okay, now you see the panpipes up there?
Yeah.
Now the instrument that the people in the forest use, it's like that, but it's just one of them.
Okay.
One person plays.
Oh, it's different people playing each part.
Well, I mean, explain it. Okay. Each one has a pipe.
Yeah.
And maybe one person just playing and the rest of them are singing, doing some kind of cool thing.
Okay.
So I have all these parts that I'm doing, and it's not random. It has to fit with the music tonally.
Yeah.
So I have to pitch these things,
or
I have to pick ones that fit the key of the song.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this main part I want to play, and I need a C. So now it goes. It fucks people up. It for some reason.
What do you mean it fucks them up?
Well, it demands attention.
Yeah.
It's like when I would go in the front, I start the song off.
Everybody's just
focused there. Yeah. They're just like, and when I do my Shaker Ray solo, what I'll do is this. I'll play my Shaker Ray and then I'll finish my Shaker Ray solo and pick this up. And they can't see it. And I'm going, and when I do that, and they see it, they cheer. Every time, it never fails. They just go, they explode into laughter and clapping. And, because it's so, they didn't know. They didn't know if I was blowing into this. They didn't know what it was. But when
they see it's a bottle.
They see it's a beer. I usually have a Heineken bottle.
Okay.
And that even makes it better. Because they said this motherfucker's blowing into a beer bottle. But it's the pitch. I have a pitch it. So anytime I do it, I use this because I can keep it pitched.
So you just pour out a little bit, or add a little bit. I don't have to
pour shit out.
I'm saying if you when you're pitching it, you would just add some.
Yeah, I tune it with the piano.
Okay, so one of my teachers was Mamadi Keita, who's
I know who he is,
and he talked about the Gerse people, and there's a rhythm that he would teach where he adapted called lekule, and he was saying they would blow into bottles and they would it was like alcohol in it, and they would drink some to change the pitch. So anyway, that reminds me of that.
Yeah, there's alcohol in it.
Okay.
But I usually put water in it. I don't know. Someone, I was playing it the other day, and I noticed. I said, it smells like rum. Some white rum.
Well, it'll stay good.
But also, it doesn't evaporate really. I mean, every time I've used this, I'm in pitch.
Okay.
I check it. At sound check. I said, let me have a seat. And it's pretty cool. But there it is. It's, I think when a lot of people, it's just, you're not discovered because you can't discover some shit that's already there. But some people say, well, we discovered these people. You know what I'm saying? It's stupid shit to say that. But they when they came in contact with African music, they thought it was noise.
Yeah.
And they thought it was unorganized.
Yeah.
They had no idea how organized it really was.
Yeah.
They had no idea. It took them hundreds of years to figure that out. And
Yeah.
then so when you really get into it, you know, all categories of instruments started in Africa. Quarterphones, aerophones, idiophones, memberphones, all that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the lyre,
Mm-hmm.
the harp,
Yeah.
the violin, bowed instruments,
Yeah.
all that shit.
I've seen the instruments that
started in Africa.
were before that. Yeah, before those instruments. Yeah.
Yeah, they just were. People got them and did their own thing with them. They developed different ways, and then the Europeans came up with the 12-tone scale, and a lot of West African stuff is based on the pentatonic. And probably your bellophone's a pentatonic.
That's actually
that's 12. That's 7. That's like you can play a major scale.
It's a diatonic.
Yeah, diatonic. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's not that wasn't an original thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but anyway, you know, there it is. That like those. I made a kora and a dosandoni.
Which is like a harp and a guitar, right?
Yes. Well, you know,
or like the predecessor to a harp.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
the sound. Like to me, a kora has a harp-like sound.
Kora is beautiful.
It's so beautiful.
Oh my
Tumani
God.
Diabate is one of my favorite.
Fode Sissoko, you know him?
I know the name, but I don't.
Yeah, he's a good. We recently.
Oh, wait! Did he do an album with Jack DeJohnette where he's looping himself? I think
he's a bad guy, bro.
Is he? Does he live up in the Northeast?
I really don't know. I know he came over here one day, and he had his kora with him, and he hit a couple of notes. I said, "Man, let's record something." So I just recorded what he did, and filmed it, and then we just had the Headhunters have a new recording called "Speakers in the House," and I sent him some music. I said, "Play on this," so he is on it.
Oh, cool.
I mean, there's so many things that happen to me, man. I mean, we could sit here for days.
Well, yeah. I was gonna say, how's your time? I want to respect your time.
I don't have any time.
Okay. So should we wrap it up?
No, man. You know.
We can go a little longer.
No. Yeah, we can.
Okay.
I mean, just get what you need.
Okay. So
you know what it does. What these conversations do.
What's that?
It helps other musicians.
That's the goal.
It helps people.
Yeah.
To hear it coming from the person's mouth.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, it's fun to hear from, I've heard this recording. Do you hear you talk about it? Even though I'm sure you've talked about it a bunch, and I've even heard you talk about it some, to hear and then to have you demonstrate it. It's cool.
It's just, people wonder what it is. And
so when you play that now, do you feel like you have to go into Watermelon Man, or do you do other things?
I don't do that in the beginning. Now what I do is it's a very important part of our show. Okay, with Herbie and now I'm the leader. Me and Mike Clark, we co-lead the Headhunters. I mean,
I think I saw you all at Jimmy Mac's in Portland, Oregon, many years ago.
Yeah, somebody asked me about a gig a couple of weeks ago. I can't even remember.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure all the gigs you played.
Yeah, just a lot of stuff. But it's been a nice ride.
So you're saying you'll improvise for a while, but then at some point you'll go into Watermelon.
Yeah, and I don't improvise. I don't like the word improvise.
No, what do you?
Why?
Yeah,
because it's bullshit.
Well, so what do you do?
Let me explain that. Okay. Here's a guy who takes what they call a solo. That's improvising, right?
Yeah.
That's not. It diminishes what a person actually does. So in the Headhunters, when Donald plays what they call a solo, I say that was a great miracle. It's a miracle. Play your miracle, because that's the fuck it is. Okay, here you are. You studied for so many years. You've learned all these scales. You've learned all these chord progressions, and they're all crammed up into this hard drive.
Yeah.
And then on a moment's notice, you could spit it out with machine gun fire, rapidity. You're not even thinking. You're praying with these notes. You're expressing.
I love
yourself.
That praying with the notes.
Yeah, you ain't fucking improvising. Improvising.
So you're saying it's deeper than that.
It's deeper.
Sounds like you're just making something up.
Fuck that. That's bullshit.
You're talking about a lifetime worth of.
You're talking
playing.
about a person's whole life.
Yeah. I see
There's
that.
a miracle happening
Uh-huh.
when a guy stands up and gets the audience to be able to, for them to react to him. And I often tell people, in fact, not often, but every time, I when with the Headhunters, I usually lead the band and talk to introduce the members. So you can do certain things. And I always say to them that we're not musicians. So we're not even good musicians. We're physicians. And that's much better than being a musician. And you say it's more to be a musician is more than music. I mean, here you are manipulating sound. Yeah. And you change people's lives right there in front of you. Yeah. I tell them, I say, by the time we finish the show, your life will be changed. Yeah. Many people come to me after the show and say,
I've experienced that firsthand.
You're right.
My brother lived here in like 96, 97 at Jazz Fest. I heard Herlin play, and I didn't know anything about the group. It was Wynton Marsalis's group, and it changed my life. And I told him that.
Yeah.
But so
So there's more to it than meets the eye.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to it, man. There's so much to it. I like time traveling. I mean, I don't know very many people that have could talk about the experience, but I can't because I time travel. And I do it with music because you're not going to be able to get into some rocket ship or some spaceship and time travel. Yeah. It ain't going to happen. But when I play bachata, see what happens. We're playing certain rhythms, and you're playing for, say, we'll play a rhythm. Let's give you an example. Yemaja. Yeah, they have a rhythm for Yemaya or Yemoja. You probably heard that name before.
I have. Yeah.
Ye means mother.
Okay.
Or ma or mo means children. Eja is fish, mother of the children of the fish. Okay. That's what the name means. Every Orisha that's kind of got a name. Yeah. It means something. You know, it has it's part of the linguistic setup of the Yoruba. So anyway, so when you're doing this, you're in a ceremony and you're trying to get that entity to come to the room, to actually be there. And then it actually comes to one of the people in the ceremony. And they are a priestess of Yemoja. None of that shit is random. You see what I'm saying? You know, and back in the day, you know, there's crazy black people that playing that, those drums are driving me crazy. And, you know, and people, white people were in fear of it, you know. And black people over there having a hell of a good time. They're not even thinking about sticking pins and dowels and hurting people. Yeah. That's not even in the scheme of things. But that's the way it was perceived. Yeah. You know, so now you have to, so time traveling, well, what is that? Okay, when I'm playing, if I'm playing a ceremony, I'm playing with the right people, you get to a space where you're not there. You're moving through the universe. If you really feel it, if you really understand it, it can manipulate it. You can do that. So I'm moving through the universe, and people say the sky's the limit. Fuck that. The sky is not the limit for me. Why is the sky the limit? I'm not going for that. No, that's bullshit. That's what you can't time travel if you think the sky is the limit. You see what I'm saying? Because you got to get past that, and you're not going to get in a spaceship and go 3 million light years away. It's not going to fucking happen. Maybe 3 million years from now, and that'll be like riding a bicycle. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, but I don't think so. I think what is going to happen is this is going to do it. You're going to be able to concentrate on something and play music, and you're going to just really go. And I've done it, so I felt how it feels. I know that I look up and I just say, where am I at? You know, what realm am I in? And there's all kinds of things going on. And I think that is a very important part of the African experience, that they have been able to survive through many holocausts. Many. Yeah. Okay. I mean, there are thousands of Holocausts, but they've been able to run fast, jump high, play like a motherfucker.
Mm-hmm.
We are the keepers of the frequency.
Mm-hmm.
We are. It's obvious.
What does that mean, keepers of the frequency?
Well, we're the masters of sound.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you look at black music, it's the most popular music on the planet. Period.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Period.
No doubt, I agree.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with race.
Yeah.
It ain't got shit to do with race. And we're not better. I'm not better than anybody else. I just know that this shit here that you do that's been disrespected, or these kind of nonsensical kind of attitudes and superiority that Europeans show is bullshit. And then, but the great thing is that black musicians share with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Africans will share all that shit with you. They're not gonna say you're a white boy.
Yeah.
They're gonna deal. Mommy Decatur didn't do that shit to you, did he? Okay.
No, he would say that the music didn't know color. I mean, that's what he would say.
But I'm just saying.
Yeah.
You don't have a fear of someone exploiting you because
I've had some teachers who had the fear of that. Yeah.
Well, and they got a good reason.
They do.
Yeah, come on, man.
I had a teacher in Ghana who said, "You're going to take this and you're going to make money from this. Like you're going to."
It happens all the time.
Yeah.
It happens. You can't deny the fact that Europeans have exploited black music and art.
Yeah, and Americans.
Yeah, it's a fact.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be stupid not to know it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so let me give you some facts. When Duke Ellington and Count Basie were walking the streets, Benny Goodman was the king of swing.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
When Bo Diddley and Chuck Berry were walking the streets, Elvis Presley was the king of rock and roll.
Mm-hmm.
That's bullshit. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
That's just nonsensical.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that's like saying if I want Eskimo food, I'm going to go to Joe's Diner,
mm-hmm.
or you're going to go to the Eskimo restaurant.
Mm-hmm. Eskimo, yeah.
You want some sushi? Go to the Japanese, motherfucker.
Yeah.
You want some fried rice? Go to the Chinese.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? You want kimchi? Go to the Koreans.
Yeah.
You understand? You want some fufu? Go to Africa.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Go hang out with some God people.
Yeah, it's simple shit.
Yeah.
You know, but here you got Kenny G being, the king of the saxophone.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to fucking Sonny Rollins, motherfucker?
Yeah.
What happened to John Coltrane?
Yeah. So I want to talk about. Can we take a quick break and talk about Sonny Rollins a little bit?
Well, man, let's not break.
Okay. So Sonny Rollins. So tell me how you first connected with Sonny Rollins.
Through a white guy.
Yeah.
A really nice guy named Orrin Keith-News.
And he introduced you.
And Orrin Keith-News, I wanted a record deal. And so I went to Herbie's manager, a guy named David Rubinson. And I had been with Herbie for several years at that time. And I told him, I said, man, I want to do my own solo project. And he laughed in my face. Literally.
Herbie did. The manager.
David Rubinson's manager.
Okay, yeah.
David Rubinson was Herbie's
manager. Why would he laugh in your face? I don't understand why.
Yeah, well, I don't have the famous idea. But he was exploiting Herbie. And here I am, I'm still just the bongo player. I don't play bongos, I play bongo. You understand? He don't even know how to pronounce it. But I'm just saying, that was the reaction I got. And this guy, Orrin Keith-News, had given me work before with different people, like Stanley Turrentine, like Sonny Rollins. Okay, he had put me with other people before. And he watched my career with Herbie, and he said, man, I'm going to call this guy out. He lives right down the street. Okay, so.
You were in New York at the time?
Pardon me?
Were you in New York at the time?
I was in Oakland.
Oakland. Oh, you're sorry. Okay.
Oakland. This guy Orrin Keith-News had the largest jazz catalog on the planet. Okay, he had Riverside, Milestone, a bunch of labels. Prestige. He had a lot of labels. Yeah. And he brought them to Fantasy.
Okay.
And they got a deal. So I met him and I was doing work for him. And I was on a plane with him one day and I told him what happened with David Rubinson. The guy laughed at me. And that was really perplexing for me. Why are you going to laugh in my face? They had already ripped me off on Watermelon Man. You see, I'm already a nice guy. I'm not holding no grudges. I'm like, say, I had to blaze the trail for other percussionists because I said I cannot mess this job up. This job is more important than Watermelon Man. It was turned out to be much more important. So anyway, Orrin Keaton, you asked me about Sonny Rollins. Orrin Keaton was invited me to his office. He said, man, after I told him about the story, and I went to the office and he said, man, that was an interesting story. You told me about David laughing at you like that, and he handed me a contract. Duh. So how should it go? And he won black. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not looking at things. I'm just looking at good. You're a good person. You're a good person.
And he saw your value.
Yeah, he did. And he gave me a contract. I was blown away. I did 4 albums for him.
Okay.
Solo. But then he put me with Joe Henderson. I did a record with McCoy Tyner. Just on that record, we did it live in the studio. And that was McCoy, Stanley Clarke, Freddie Hubbard, Hubert Laws, Jack B. I mean, it was incredible, man.
Yeah.
It was fucking stupid. Ed Henderson and Benny Maupin was on it. Freddie Hubbard? Come on, man. I mean, just the company. I was the youngest person there, but just the company I was keeping. You know, put me with George Benson. What's the leader of the Grateful Dead, Jerry Garcia.
You did some sort of Jerry Garcia?
Yeah, I did. I did a lot of stuff with a lot of
like for his solo albums?
A lot of bands, the Tubes, Carlos Santana, you know, Hall and Oates. I was, you know,
you had
things were going on.
People will see you were known at that point. I mean,
well, anybody that played on that record, that changed the face of music.
Yes. So people were like, "Oh, that he does that thing. We want that thing." Or whatever.
We want that thing.
Yeah,
you're right. That's what it was. They said, "Well, that's part of the formula right there." And if they could get a couple of us on one record, then they knew they were going to get something special.
That's just the musicians you just mentioned. It blows my mind.
Let me tell you something. The women I work with. I'm gonna take it back. You probably don't even know these names. Eartha Kitt.
Yep, I do.
We talked about Alice Coltrane.
Yeah.
I worked with Diane Reeves, Aretha Franklin, Ella Fitzgerald, Sarah Vaughan, Anita Baker. Just right there. Fuck it.
You're talking about
just that alone. Just that alone is, you know.
At the time, for all these sessions and people that you're working with, I'm guessing you're probably aware of the importance of it, the importance of them. You know, like
I knew. Yeah, of course they were important.
I mean, were there any of them where you didn't realize what you were doing was significant? Or
a couple of things. Roots. Oh yeah. They was with Quincy. I had no idea it was going to do what it did. No one knew it was.
The movie Roots.
Yeah.
It was
it's iconic.
Was Roots before The Color Purple?
Yeah.
It was. Okay. So was that your first time working with Quincy Jones?
Yeah, 1977.
And he knew of you
that was
because
when
of
I
that?
did my solo record.
Oh, okay.
My first solo record was at the same time.
So, I mean, I'm guessing you were on top of the world with all that stuff happening.
No, not really.
No?
Because I was still fighting for people to respect percussion.
You
know, it wasn't really all the way there.
Okay.
It still isn't. You know, but man, it was good.
Yeah.
I mean,
you felt respected, right? Not totally.
Well, not totally, because people still had that bullshit going
preconceived
on.
Notions of what they thought.
Yeah, you the bongo. Oh, you were the bongo player.
Yeah.
You know,
or every drum's a bongo.
There you go. And then let me tell you something else that happens. That is extremely offensive. Okay, when we take a sound check, now to this day, I go to the gig. You know what a sound check is, of course. I go to the sound check, and what are they going to check first? Well, the drummer, probably. Because he has the most mics, most inputs. And then they'll go to the keyboard player. Then they'll go to the bass player. Then they'll go to whatever else is on the sax or whatever. And who's last?
Percussion.
Me. And if they have enough inputs left.
Oh, wow.
You know, I say, and I don't say shit. They say play your toys.
They say play your toys?
That's what they say. They say it all. It's normal. It's the accepted language.
You have all these instruments and then toys.
They call them toys.
Interesting. Yeah.
And they say, play your toy. Hey, guy, you play percussionist or whatever they want to call me. Play your toys. And I ignore them. And then they look at me and they keep trying to get my attention. And I go to the mic. I say, here's a mic, vocal mic. And then it comes on. I say, I don't have no fucking toys. And then they say, oh shit. And I say, I don't mean to offend you, but these aren't toys, they're instruments. Yeah. You know what a violin is? Yes. You know what a viola is? Yes. You know what all this shit is, right? Yeah. Why is my shit toys?
Yeah. And they don't understand the technique and the skill.
I teach them. I say, man, look. And they set up the timbales. They put the angel in the wrong place and the macho in the wrong place. They put the small one over on the left and the big one on. I said, that doesn't go like that. You don't know what you're doing. You've been poorly trained. And I know all the tech shit. I can run the board. I can run the lights. So when they realize, when I start talking frequencies, this shit here is, this second wave is probably 70 cycles. And, 70 hertz. I can hear the shit. I know that I recorded, and in the beginning when we started recording, you had to align the machine with tones. I don't know if you know about the early 2-inch tape recorder.
I didn't know you had to do that.
Oh yeah, you had to align each track. Okay. And you use tones. And the tones are put in the beginning of the tape. Okay. So now, present day engineers don't have to do that. You something with Logic and Pro Tools and things like that. Yeah. You're up and running. Okay, but so you're not learning frequencies.
You're reminding me of something. Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, we're good.
Bill Frisell, the guitarist Bill Frisell. I was at a sound check for a concert of his, and his sound person, who's been with him for many, many years, she would sing different frequencies. I've never seen a sound engineer. I mean, she's an engineer. Sing these frequencies to tune the room. Like she would sing it. She knew. So she has perfect pitch, I guess, and would sing different frequencies.
Would have to.
Yeah, and she would adjust. Anyway, that just reminded me of what you're saying about tuning the tape.
Yeah, I mean, it's just part of it.
So Sonny Rollins, how did you got that contract?
I got that from Oren. Oren put me with him.
So he put you with him, and then did you end up being in his band, or
well, there it is.
Yeah. So this show, Sonny Rollins Quintet,
and that had to be in the 70s or early 80s
with Al Foster,
and Mark Soskin. And somebody else.
And Jerome Harris is playing bass.
The guy playing bass, I'm trying to remember.
That's Jerome Harris.
Jerome Harris. Right?
Yeah. And that sounds like a cool group. That sounds like a great group. That sounds like a fun group to play with.
It was a fun group.
Very, very different than playing with Herbie Hancock, I'm guessing.
Not for me.
No?
They didn't know what the fuck I was doing anyway. You know what I mean?
You can play whatever you want.
They didn't know what to tell me to play. Like maybe Sonny Rollins could tell any of the other musicians, well, a chord or the bass player a line. Because Sonny was from the islands. Yeah,
when St. Thomas. Yeah. So when St. Thomas would come on, what would you do?
I play some calypso shit. I play some shit they played in St. John's. Okay. Because I knew what they played. I definitely knew what to play if it was. I just. And they couldn't tell me what they played because they couldn't pronounce the instruments. They didn't even know what a kashishi was. So they didn't know what to tell me. Yeah. They barely knew what a shakere was. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So they always left that up to me. No one ever told me what to play.
Yeah. Well, that's nice, right?
That was good because they didn't know what to tell me. I went to do Roots with Quincy, and there was Victor Feldman. Do you know who he is? No. Well, there was a bunch of white guys. And they had all kinds of instruments, but they didn't know how to play them.
So Victor Feldman's a percussionist, I guess, or plays.
Well, they were classically trained orchestra guys. Yeah. But they didn't know shit. They didn't know they had a djembe, but they didn't know how to play it. Yeah. They just bought one, and they got their jobs because they had the shit. They come in with big fucking cabinets full of shit, man. Yeah. I come in there with a bottle and fuck them up.
With a bottle.
But they didn't know shit because they didn't know. I said, well, let's play Chen Shan Kuru, Doodumba, Folk Roba. They didn't know that shit.
Uh-huh.
They didn't fucking know. How the fuck are we gonna play some African shit and you don't know it?
Yeah. Dunumba is not something that you could just quickly pick up.
I just did that. It was stupid. Why would you do that?
But Quincy Jones knew that you were bringing that to the session, and so that's why.
And then I brought the guy Zach. I brought him in.
Zach
Jones to get my roommate.
Oh, okay.
Cool. He sang a song on there that was a circumcision, a song they sang during circumcision rites. So it was real shit.
Yeah,
it wasn't no fake phony ass shit.
Yeah,
so that
and had any of that been recorded for a film before?
Yeah,
that it had.
Yeah, I think when we did. I think on The Color Purple, it was another guy. He was African. Clif.
Okay.
He's very important. He was married to a lady. Is married to a lady named Lesa Mbulu.
Okay.
Very, very like Mary McKeeper was. You remember? You don't even know who she is.
I don't. Who is she?
That's like saying you don't know who Ella is.
Oh man. Well, I'm sorry.
Well, on the African side, these were trailblazers.
Okay.
They were very important. And
how can I and others learn?
Is, right?
Yes.
They were doing the same thing.
Okay. How can someone learn about those people? What are some good ways to learn about them?
Well, I would say you go to YouTube is a good place to start. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So there are some videos.
Yeah, there's plenty. If you want to learn about djembe, there's some good shit on YouTube. Yeah. If you want to learn about the Oro Igbo dude that I was telling you about, they got guys playing it.
But the thing is about YouTube is sometimes you have to decipher between.
You have to know
between what is
real.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to know.
Yeah.
You have to know something.
Because there's a lot of stuff on there that someone might think, oh, this is real, and it's not.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
where does this come from?
The same thing.
Yeah.
You're dealing with, but there's so much good stuff.
Yeah.
You can ascertain which is real or not because man, you can't fake the funk, bro.
Yeah.
You look at these guys playing about stuff from Cuba. It ain't nobody even going to try to put some shit up there that they didn't learn from someone or they're not confident about because you'll get fried.
Yeah. Yeah.
You'll get roasted immediately.
Yeah. Well, I feel that way about the West African music I've learned, but I still see people putting videos up where they're not getting a tone and slap.
Well, you got to study. I mean, with any of those hand drums, you have to study technique.
Yeah. How
to get the proper sound.
Did you spend a lot of time just repetition?
Yeah, of course. I play a slap. I may play that for a half hour, just one hand. Pop, 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 and move a little bit, like a fraction of an inch to the left or to the right. Remember positions, and then you find the spot.
You get different tone, different
but
pitch.
you want to find your spot.
Yeah.
To do the slap.
No, you just helped me a little bit right there because I find it to be a constant struggle.
You have to be very patient.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times with African percussion, let's say like what Bata, the old conga may just go kila, 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 kila. Now, with maybe some classical composition, one guy's playing a flute or whatever, and he's playing a bunch of notes.
Mm-hmm.
But here's a guy, you tell him, that's your lane. You're going to play these two notes. And so this guy gets to the point, if he's smart and he understands the concept, I'm going to put my life into those two notes. Mm-hmm. And this motherfucker plays the shit out of them. Two notes.
And those two notes are just as important as the other notes, right?
Yeah, without it, the ship stays in the dark. Uh-huh. You just have to know, but then that's life. You see, the most difficult things to do are the simplest, like treating us like human beings, treating each other right. Mm-hmm. What's so hard about that? Mm-hmm. What's so difficult about that? Smile at this motherfucker, shake his hand, give him a motherfucking hug. Mm-hmm. What the fuck is hard about that? It's simple shit. Yeah. But most people can't do it. Yeah. So there it is. You learn how to do the basics. Mm-hmm. Stay out the way. And then you have the EI, which is the biggest drum. which means mother, literally translated mother. Mother rules.
Mother what?
Rules.
Rules, yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Period. In every culture, you may want to say you're the king, but what do they call this? Mother what? Earth. Okay, they don't call it Father Earth. There's a reason for it.
Yeah.
And so you have this concept where the mother, like with all the bachata rhythms, the mother calls in the rhythm. So there's a call for every orisha. You learn all the calls. Now then there's the Itotole, which is the father. They don't never fight each other. They don't ever play on top of each other. She talks, he answers. And the child plays a simple pattern that keeps the family together. That's the concept. So that becomes more important than your part.
Yeah.
It's how you fit together.
The whole.
That's a very big lesson in life.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I love about the music that I've learned, like the Malenke.
It's based on the same concept.
Yeah, I think of the Dununs being like that, the Kenkini.
Yeah, it's all the same.
Yeah, the Kenkini and the Sangban, the Dununba.
Saba, it's the same shit.
Yeah.
You got to know the parts. It's parts.
So what do you think about drum circles?
I think I call them thunder drummers.
Do you think it's wrong?
I call them thunder drummers.
Yeah, it is.
No,
you don't
I don't
think
think it's wrong, but I just went to Congo Square, which I very seldom go and drum there because of that. Because people, here's what happens: people, they go and buy some percussion, they buy a drum. It could be a drum table like this. That's a drum.
Oh yeah.
Okay, they may buy a djembe. They don't want to learn shit, bro. They just want to play.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
I've experienced that.
Yeah,
I've seen that. Yeah.
That's okay, but I'm not gonna play with you.
Yeah.
I ain't got time for that.
It's not gonna.
I can't do it. I can't do it.
Yeah.
It's like everybody's playing a different part. They don't know why.
There's not communication going on.
There's no bachata is serious, like crazy serious.
Yeah.
So I just don't want to do. I personally don't want to do it because that's what we called it back in the day when I learned how to play social music like rumba. They had in Berkeley, at UC Berkeley, had a place called Schwab Plaza, and every Saturday and Sunday I spent all day, honing my skills with guys who could play, who could play rumba.
Yeah.
And knew the names of the rhythms and how and what drum does what.
Your training.
Yeah. So they had another group of guys that would come and play for the girls. They come in and do little shit that mean shit. But everybody always wound up where we were playing, where the guys who could, because it sounded so good.
People would feel that,
gravitate
the melody.
Yeah, they go over there, they leave down,
Yeah.
and they say, something's up with this. These motherfuckers over here are sizzling.
Yeah.
So they go over there, and then these guys would move their drums over this one.
Try to get in on that.
And we would move. It would be by the end of the day, we would have gone around that motherfucker 5 or 6 times. Just moving away from it because they were unorganized and they weren't. It wasn't pleasurable.
Yeah.
To not study.
Yeah.
You got when the guys that could play, they could move the mountain with that shit.
Yeah.
The whole campus would shift. You know what I'm saying? It was a difference.
And there's to me it seemed obvious the depth of it. Like if you were walking and all of a sudden you heard that from a distance,
you could tell.
Yeah, you would hear that and want to go see what you were hearing.
What is that?
Yeah.
Because you could tell.
Yeah.
Anybody had an ear. But anyway.
Yeah. So just to the last thing I'd like to talk about with
last thing
is New Orleans. So your parents were from here. You ended up here again. You came back 20-some, 30-some years later, something like that?
I mean, I've always come here.
So it's always been a place. What has been the significance of New Orleans to you? Like why New Orleans? Why did you choose to live
number one, it ain't in the United States.
Where is it?
It's the northernmost Caribbean country.
So I've said that before. I've heard that, and I didn't know. I feel like that's a great description of New Orleans.
I think I had something to do with it.
Okay, did you? But I didn't know if that would offend some people if I said that or not.
I don't think so. Nobody that's from here that's really from here would not, because if you said, it's another country.
Yeah.
And that's that. I think people would look at that as a compliment. To say, man, you have your own food, you have your own dance, You do things differently. It's like going to Cuba, or you see the black Indians on the street, the second line. That's like samba.
Yeah.
You know, it's like going to Trinidad and seeing, you know, a Junkanoo or whatever. You know, it's different. It's just an island. It's just a culture here.
So did it feel like a coming home to live here?
Well, I mean, this is, you know, I went to Detroit, but my parents never. They always said we're gonna go back. We're going home. I meant we were taking a trip back here.
Okay.
So that was my orientation, and then what we ate, even in the black neighborhood I grew up in, we had there was a dish that my mother would make called lost bread.
Lost bread?
Yeah, lost bread. They have a name for it here, Perdu or something. It means, but lost bread means it's stale.
Okay.
It's lost. Okay, you know what French toast is, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, they call it something else.
Okay.
But it's basically the same thing.
You revive it and make it good.
They make it, yeah, well, there ain't nobody throwing shit away. So they will put a little sugar and eggs and nutmeg and fry it. But, you know, if someone in my neighborhood in Detroit, if I would describe what I had for breakfast and I said lost bread, it would throw them off. Or, you know, gumbo. Even gumbo, come on, the stuffed melon, poisson courbillon, you know, crawfish bisque, etouffee, jambalaya. Jambalaya is an African word. Gumbo is too. So it's different. You see what I'm saying? There's a difference.
Yeah.
And going to Chicago and dealing with some black people as opposed to here. It's different. People are different.
Yeah.
You know, they're Africans. More African influence has survived.
Yeah. And there's a culture like of where kids, it seems like, can grow up with some culture.
Man, they definitely do.
Yeah.
And they probably, when they go to other cities and they don't see Second Line and they don't see Congo Square and they don't see the things that are very familiar to them, and black people they have, you know, they're detached from the culture in a way. They don't. But here, people are very, but people here have the issues too. You know, so I mean, you have to take the bitter with the sweet. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me. I really appreciate
That's
it.
the mailman.
Oh, okay.
Hey man, hey look, you guys, I hope we had a good time.
Yeah, thank you for tuning in, and gonna end the broadcast. But yeah, I really appreciate it.
Okay, upward and onward. Now I'm gonna go to the store and get an apple so I can smoke some of this weed. So now you got that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Ending stream.